I generally tell people, don't try to create a name for your events. Don't try to create a monthly cadence for your event until you've hosted at least 3.
Welcome to this River Live session featuring Nick Rae. He's a serial entrepreneur and author of The 2-Hour Cocktail Party.
How's it going?
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited.
I'm really excited to chat with you because obviously I've admired your work for a long time. And you have a really juicy, interesting background that I admire because I think you see, I don't know, you tell me, but do you see your career more as like a playground than a ladder? Because you definitely have been on a playground.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I don't think of it as a career, but yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to pin you for everyone.
So who are the people attending? Is everybody hosting events? They're all in the River Squad?
I think mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe everyone's in the River Squad, although maybe some people are curious about hosting, or maybe just people like your work in general. Suna is a frequent attendee, which is cool.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I think some people from the Don't Die Brian Johnson events. I think people are starting to figure out that just in real life stuff is cool, and you've been on that train for a long time. I'll try to
They're
introduce.
mostly hosts. They're mostly hosts for.
I think mostly hosts, a couple of attendees.
Yeah.
Chris is the community manager for all of Super Team, which is like our biggest community on River. But I was planning on this being more about like just IRL community and stuff in general, nothing like specifically about River. And then I was going to try to introduce you, even though we've only met one time before in person. But I'll take a stab at it. You let me know how I did.
Sure. No, I bet it'll be great.
Yeah. So, and we're going to, by the way, the format of this, we'll chat for about 40 minutes, and then there'll be tons of time for audience questions at the end. But in high school, you started a web hosting company, which is very impressive because I feel like I was in high school. I was just like figuring out the internet, and I don't think you're that much older than me. In your 20s, you grew and sold a family business, Flight Display Systems. You turned your Hack the Met project into Museum Hack, which is a business that you sold. You brought tens of thousands of people to the museum for the first time, and you grew it to 2.8 million in revenue. Then you published the 2-Hour Cocktail Party. Obviously, I'm skipping over a bunch of stuff, which we can talk about more, the cocktail party later, because it's the book I recommend to anyone who seems interested in hosting but not sure how to get started. You were also part of a comedy troupe, and you produced a Bollywood music video. What did I miss?
Nailed it. I'm drinking a lot of beverages. I was in New York City for 13 years. Love New York City. I think everybody should live there at least once. I don't know if it's a great place to start a business, but I lived in New York for a while, and now I very happily live in Austin, Texas. I've been here for 3 years. I love Japanese green tea. I drink it every morning, and that's it. Now I just get to work on fun stuff.
Amazing. I love that. I love Austin as well. I lived in New York, Hell's Kitchen for 3 years, but I wasn't a real New Yorker, and COVID kicked me out. I just couldn't.
Good.
I couldn't handle it. And also, not great for starting a business in New York. Can be tricky. Can be expensive. Amazing. Fun fact that no one knows about you is that you're the person who snapped my profile picture.
Wait, what?
You took this picture of me, in my green jacket with my Converse, and I'm pointing somewhere, and this is my profile picture everywhere, and I love it. This is my favorite picture that anyone's taken of me, and you took it.
That makes me so happy. I can't believe that that's true. And if I did it, that's amazing. Wow.
I think of you every time I see my own profile picture. I'm like, oh, that's such a fun, candid profile picture. And Nick took it.
That is so cool. Oh, that makes me happy. I love taking pictures. You know what? I think that learning how to take good pictures of people is actually kind of a life hack. And I see Nick nodding his head, and so is Sunit. If you can learn how to do this well, it is a life hack, because sometimes people are like, oh, will you take our picture? And the basic bitches be like, okay. But instead, if you're like, all right, you guys move over here. Your better light is over this way. You guys come over this way. Okay, you look great. The smallest thing that you can do to take better pictures is don't be silent when you're taking. So when I'm taking pictures, I'm like, all right, you guys look awesome. You guys look amazing. And I'm going for 3. Yes. I'm talking, I'm active.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
I
a
have a
huge
similar
little
hack.
thing. Yes, please.
I just have a similar hack. I always offer to take pictures of like professional photographers or videographers
Oh,
because they never have a good photo of them, especially of them like working. So if I ever see like a hired photographer, I'm always like, do you want me to take a picture of you like taking a shot? And they're just like, they're so happy. And I just text them the photo. And then now I know more photographers around in cities that I can hire for events. But yeah, no one takes photos of them. So I always offer.
smart idea that they don't have any like BTS photos. That's true.
Exactly. So it's like they want, like, I hosted a Brian Johnson event and the photographer is like thrilled to have a photo of them taking a photo of Brian Johnson because it's like way cooler. Yep.
There's a guy that I know, his name is Neville Medora on Twitter. I think he's NevMed. And this guy does this so well. Every event that I go to, he takes pictures. And even I've known this guy for years. He's one of my best friends, but still he texts me afterwards these behind the scenes photos from the events that I'm at. And he does it with everybody. He takes a lot of pictures and then he takes like 15 minutes and he texts those pictures that he took of people to them. And it's a small thing, but it really does mean a lot. You know this, Rae. We're too busy hosting. We're not taking pictures ourselves.
Oh, I'm terrible. I never remember to take a single photo. And my husband never remembers to take a single photo. I hosted like an exclusive event with Jason Calacanis. And there's like in Miami, there's no photos of me. I was pretty mad about it for a few weeks. I was like, if you ever host an event with Elon, I'm not taking a picture of you.
It's true.
I won't actually do that. I'm not that catty, but I did say that because I was so frustrated. We actually built a feature in River because I'm so bad at remembering. It SMS sends me a text to remind me to take
Really?
and then post it on social because I'm like, I host dozens of events and there's never any photos.
That's smart.
Okay, let's get into some juicy stuff.
Great.
And people can feel free to ask questions in the chat and then we'll open up the floor to anyone later on. But why IRL? Like, why attend? Why host? Why bother?
Oh, here's why. Because when you're at an IRL event, you get to be an active participant. When you're at a virtual event, you're just passive. You're just sitting here. Now, you're just listening. You're not in charge. And you're just like, you're held hostage. Versus at an IRL event, you can largely be responsible for your own success. And there's just so much more. That's like for the average attendee. But then as a host, you just get to do so much more stuff.
Once you get the hang of hosting, it's like not that much more work than actually attending. Once you kind of know 2 or 3 good spots in your city, you know where to buy your name tags, you kind of know the drill. So it's maybe at this point, maybe now it takes me 20 more minutes to host an event than it does to actually attend an event. But then the ROI of hosting is so much higher because everyone wants to talk to you, or you have the right to kind of gently interrupt or insert yourself into any conversation. So yeah, I'm just like, hosting is such a big unlock. And then everyone wants to talk to you. I'm like the same exact person when I attend an event versus when I host an event. But now all of a sudden everyone wants to talk to me.
Yeah, that's the benefit of hosting. The benefit of hosting is just like so much more. I'm just thinking about the difference between like IRL and virtual. What is that quote that they say that the benefits of virtual events are similar to taking a shower wearing a raincoat?
Okay.
Well, they use this analogy in a different way, but that virtual events are just so bad for creating real kind of connection. And it's as likely as you having a good shower wearing a raincoat that you'll make those connections during a virtual event.
Love it. Yeah. Great for information sharing. Hard to catch vibes, hard to connect in person.
Welcome to our virtual event with Nick Rae, where Nick Rae talks shit about virtual events.
Welcome to our virtual shitty event.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, I mean, I think we're almost the same age, maybe a little older. I'm 37. I feel like I'm just, especially.
You don't look 37. You're like 27, Rae.
Bless you. I don't drink alcohol and I don't have children.
This is the key. This is the key to success. What's your skincare routine? Walk us through.
I don't think I'm that good at skincare. Been listening to Brian Johnson's opinions on skincare.
Oh, what's his name?
He uses CeraVe, which is from CVS, which I would normally poo-poo anything at CVS, but actually my favorite shampoo and my skin stuff is from CVS. Yeah, I try to drink a lot of water, no alcohol, and being well rested, cutting out toxic people out of my life.
What's your skincare routine? Cutting out toxic people.
Seriously, that's the skincare routine. A lot of exercise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't I use some vitamin C that my friend Sheena told me to use. But yeah, I'm not like particularly into skincare or makeup. I'm not that good about it. Yeah.
What is our plan and policy for, can other people speak or do they have to have their mics off?
People can speak up if they really want to interject, and then I was going to leave tons of time at the end. But yeah, Sweet. And I'm also watching the chat if anyone says anything.
Well, let's mix it up right now. Does anyone want to come off mic and have a question or share your skincare routine?
Nick Dreher?
I also am a user of CeraVe, not Michael Cera, but that's about it. Guys in the audience, pay attention to your skin. It's not just for the ladies. So get after it.
Moisturize. Yes. Rahul has something.
What do you got, Rahul?
Skincare wise, I actually use a lot of stuff, and I actually created my own stuff during COVID for hair care and skincare because I grew my hair to here, and then I finally cut it because I don't know how women handle long hair. It's so heavy. And I actually had a question for Nick. What do you do post events to kind of create that after meetups, kind of community still? Because I find hosting MFM events and helping Steph Smith host an in-person in Toronto in June, I want to make sure the after the event, there's a little more, I guess you could say community engagement, because I find between MFM events, I do it every 6 weeks, and it's very much everyone kind of goes their own way, and there's literally no talking, no engagement, no nothing until I'm okay, this is where I'm falling short.
Okay.
So I kind of want to do a little more extra.
So let me just ask a few questions. Number one, how many people attend your events?
It's usually between 20 and 35.
Great. Number two, did you read my book?
Yes. I read it 4 days before I posted the first one back in December.
Sweet. So 20 to 35 people usually come to the event. And do you lead rounds of intros where you get everybody together?
I have in the first half an hour, but I find afterwards I've found it a little bit hard, especially with the MFM crowd, because they're very kind of just start engaging naturally too. So I don't want to saying hey, we're going to stop, we're going to do another icebreaker kind of thing. I just kind of let it flow that way afterwards, after the half an hour, and do a group pick a little bit hour in before everyone forgets. Yeah.
Let me ask and see what Rae says first, because there may be certain things in the River platform that she wants people to be doing. Then I'll give my thoughts and ideas.
We're still working on improving the post-event engagement. Yeah. So far it's just been with the angel checks we raise, get everyone to the right place at the right time, which in the right time zone, which, is already hard enough. I just WhatsApp groups or Telegram groups and just inviting everyone there. We can talk wider about philosophies around community, but I don't like to be a gatekeeper too much. I want people to just interact with each other and stuff. So we've been encouraging each city and within each community have their own WhatsApp channel to stay in touch. I just feel that's easy for people. And then, always if I say I'm going to do a follow-up or some resources, I really try to do that the next day, because otherwise I don't do it. But this is a huge problem with me. I put on a fantastic events and I get great photos, and then I don't do anything with them after.
Do the River hosts have access to email addresses?
Not by default. The community admin can change that. They can message attendees, either SMS or email them, but they don't like get to like download those emails and then upload them somewhere else, but they can send messages.
Here is what I would do for your question, Rahul. I would bring a clipboard to your events, and I would collect people's email addresses to build an email list. Here is one thing that I do. I do something, and this is my secret weapon, and I don't know if it's going to work for your event. I don't know if it's going to work for everybody else, because this thing is very hard, but if you can pull it off, so don't do this unless you listen to everything I'm going to say, okay? Because this can go poorly. The secret weapon, which I briefly mention at the end of my book, is called the 24-hour reply all thread. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is an email thread sent to everyone who attends, where you all get to spam the thread for 24 hours only with your startup, your LinkedIn, a charity you support, your Spotify playlist, whatever you want. You get to spam the thread, but literally for 24 hours only. Now, there's a million ways that this can go right. And in fact, I could do a screen share from a recent one that I did, and just everybody's writing back, hey, I'm going to this weekend. We should do this. If everybody else, it goes right in a lot of ways. But I'm going to tell you how it can go wrong, because I don't want anybody just to go off to the races with this. Number one, you have to tell people that it's coming, and you have to give them a chance to opt in. You can't do that, Rahul, if you're not leading these rounds of icebreakers, if you're not speaking to them. So I usually do it, and when it works, I'll do it around the second or third round of icebreakers, or when I'm closing the party, I'll say, hey, everybody, with your permission, tomorrow, because there's so many great connections that are happening here, I'm going to do a special thing. It's called a 24-hour reply all thread. Now, if you want to connect with everybody, share your socials to that, spam it with your startup, your fundraise, your Kickstarter, whatever. But it's literally only from 24 hours. And we do that so this isn't like a WhatsApp group that you start from one event and then somebody spams it like 2 weeks later, right? Sometimes I'll even blacklist people. If they hit up that thread like weeks afterwards for some fundraise or something, I'm like, no way. So I'll pause now and see what questions you have. But there's a lot of ways for this to fail, and you have to be careful because it could die in the water if you don't set it up right.
Yeah, because I mean, with the MFM crowd, I think it would actually be easy, like kind of an easy opt-in, because especially if you put it, like title it 24-hour thrill of the shill kind of thing.
Yes,
That's their like Sam and Sean's thing. So like,
yes,
it's something fun, right? That would be easy. Others, yeah, I could see how that could go easily wrong.
But wrong means that nobody writes back. Right means that 80% or more of all people write back, and that's what I have. When it goes right for me, over 80% of all the attendees write back, and all day long, people are sending the nicest messages. Cool things they're doing in town. Who wants to join me for this? Whatever. That's when it works really, really well.
Can you articulate again why the 24 hours? So like, what if you want to foster that community over the next few weeks or months, or maybe make it a permanent community in your local area? What's the benefit of cutting that off at 24 hours?
Number one, I don't think that any single one meetup can create a permanent sort of community. I think that's a false hope. And so it always bothers me when people are like, this party is so fun. Let's create a WhatsApp group. I'm like, bro, the party's over. Like, let's move on. But for some people,
a lot of parties.
Yeah.
Some people.
But for some people, know that your party will be the best thing they do all week, all month, maybe all quarter, and they love it, and they're saying that because they love it, right? And they want to do it. I generally tell people, don't try to create a name for your events. Don't try to create a monthly cadence for your event until you've hosted at least 3. Once you've hosted 3, then you can zoom out and say, okay, what's my plan? What do I want to do with this kind of community or something like that? And then maybe you could make a WhatsApp group or like a Telegram group, like I tend to like things where I can delete the thing. The benefit to the 24-hour tight thing is that if you don't say 24 hours, then people take forever to reply. They may not reply. There's the FOMO of I don't want to miss out. Now people's emails keep bumping up and you are seen negatively as the host. You're like, Nick fucking Jader's party. God damn it. I keep getting these messages like 3 weeks later, people spamming their charity. And so we don't want that.
Super helpful, by the way. Thank you. That's awesome advice.
I love it. I love creating like consolidated energy because it's like so much better when everyone hits it quickly versus just like some time. So good work.
Yeah. Note this. I'll put in the chat too, and note the PS that I put here at the bottom. Okay, that's the first part of the message. But then I put this as a PS to the message. So I put this. I say a quick short reply is way better than like overthinking it. And don't share these emails anywhere public and respect the privacy of others. Yeah. So doing that in there, you have to tell people it's coming though. I can't stress enough for all the hosts here listening. You cannot surprise people with this. They can't have shown up to the event and then they get this. They'll be like, what is this thing? You have to circle everybody up and say, hey, everybody, thank you so much for coming. There's so many awesome people here, and I know you're not going to get a chance to meet everybody. So tomorrow, with your permission, what I'm going to do is send an email to everybody, 24 hours only, reply back to that thread with all of your links, but only 24 hours because I want to respect everybody's inbox. Come see me later or send me a message if you don't want to be included or you want to change your message. Now, I can tell you I've done this dozens of times. I've never had somebody say, don't include me.
Yeah.
When they feel that they had the chance to and they didn't, they'll be way less mad. Versus if you surprise people, then they'll be like, why'd you put me on this list? Stop, remove me from the list, whatever.
While we are talking with Nick Jader, can you share your Thrill to Shill hack? Because I love it, and maybe Nick doesn't know it. Nick Rae doesn't know it.
The Thrill to Shill in the MFM community?
Yeah, with the app, with Appetizer.
So the Thrill, does anybody know what Thrill to Shill is? Raise your hand. We got 1, 2, 3, maybe one third of the group. So I think Sean Puri came up with this, and I'll just like outline the idea. You're basically what everybody hates is a sell that comes out of nowhere. People are trying to pump up their own thing, talk their own book, but it comes out of left field. And so the Thrill to Shill is kind of like an excuse, a tagline, a marketing phrase to say, hey, look, I'm going to talk about something that's I'm personally invested in or something cool that I've been up to, but I'm going to like tell it in a cool way, a funny way, a unique story. And I think the thing here is it gives you permission to do so, and you get a little bit of a laugh. So it's kind of like a little hack. It's taking like something that Sean came up with. They talk about it on the pod a lot, and kind of taking that and running with it if you're a host. So for example, like in our Slack community, for the MFM community, we have actually I didn't create it. One of our hosts created it, a Thrill to Shill channel. And so that just sections off all of the selling, if you will, to one spot. If you want to be in there, you can. If not, you don't have to be in there. Also, a few different hosts have done this live. So in real life, carve out 10 or 15 minutes and call it the Thrill to Shill. Get people up in front of the group, talk about your thing in a funny way, make people laugh, and then move on. I think it's been really fun, really successful from what I've observed and seen, and it gets people engaged. Gets people laughing a little bit, breaks the ice kind of naturally. So just wanted to share that with y'all.
The one I liked the best I saw was if you have a couple of Thrill to Shill spots at your event, but they have to buy the group an appetizer. So it's like, yes, I'll listen to your 90-second funny pitch, but only if there's nachos.
That's perfect. That's way better than going to like an 8-hour timeshare presentation.
Yeah. So Nick, I recommend your book to everyone in like who reaches out either in intercom, because a lot of times people are reaching out to us like not actually asking like product questions, but they're just like, ooh, like what do I do? Like where do I have it? Like what? Like people just need to be like it spelled out for them exactly what to do. Yes. So I send them the 2-hour cocktail party all the time. even though that's meant for like their personal like home cocktail party or whatever. And so I don't know. Everyone reads it.
Yeah.
And I just love that it's like super step by step and so like clear for people and so human. But something I've never heard is like, why did you write it? Like, I know what's in it and I've read it and I recommend it, but like, why did you write it?
I wrote it. Selfishly, I knew that I wanted to do some sort of a book thing. And I couldn't think of what I could do that would truly add value, because I think there's so many bad books out there that are just like self-promo, or they're trying to like upsell you a mastermind or something. And I really was thinking, hey, what could I truly add value at? Like, what am I like an expert on? And there wasn't much except this one weird sort of area of hosting, which is the 2-hour cocktail party. And I had a Google Doc that was being passed around friends of all the tips and tricks and everything I learned from hosting these events. And that is what the book sort of came out of, was all these notes that were being shared around.
I love that. Yep.
Now, separately, while I'm here, since I'll give you guys another bonus secret, my favorite venue for hosting events, if you absolutely cannot host at your home, is I really like hosting at hotel lobby bars.
Me too.
Yeah, they're really good, right?
Yeah.
Hotel lobby bars are so much better and nicer. Why do you like them, Rae?
So people don't think of hotel lobbies because you don't want to go there with like one person. You're just like, weird vibes, like hotel art, meh. But like when you're with a group of 30 people, nobody gives a single shit about like that as much.
Yes.
The hotel lobby bars, they're just so good at dealing with the influx of large crowds. Like they don't get mad. They're not like, do you have a reservation? They just kind of like welcome you. And I think it's because they just are built for it. It's like, oh, wedding reception just ended and everyone needs an after party. You know, conference is happening. Like they're just so good at the like the ups and downs. And so, yeah, I just am like, go there. I know the vibes aren't your favorite, but it's not a first date. Like 30 people, you're bringing the vibes. So just go.
Some things I would suggest is you really need to visit it ahead of time. So don't just randomly choose one. You need to kind of know the space and where it is. Because for an example, some hotel, the lobby will be on one floor, but the bar is on another floor. Or it's not totally clear where it's located, or you just need to, you really should go there in advance. But just like Rae said, it's pretty normal for random people to go to these places. And those bars are used to transients. They're usually much larger and much less crowded than normal bars. What you absolutely should not be doing is hosting your event at the coolest, most popular place in town. So that's what a lot of new hosts think. They're like, ooh, what's a really popular, cool spot? Like, no. When I'm hosting, I want the least popular spot. So it's quiet and it's for my group only. And so that's really what you want. You actually don't want it to be super, super, super crowded.
Chris is asking, do you typically need to pay a cover or something? I don't think so.
Great question. You don't have to pay a cover or anything for these hotel
and they're fine with separate checks. They just like, they're like happy for the business. Yeah.
Yeah, they're so happy for the business. That's why I do like to go there in advance to just like scope it out. And sometimes they'll even give you a happy hour special. So sometimes you could even ask, be like, hey, I'm going to bring this meetup group here for this work thing. Is there any happy hour specials that we can get? The one bad thing that I will say with a hotel bar is that occasionally your guests won't close out their tabs, or they'll not do something. And so occasionally I will get stuck with paying $20 or $30 or $50 worth of drinks where not everybody has sorted it out. And that's when I've gone to the hotel. I'll be like, hey, heads up, I'm bringing a ton of people here. We want to have a space sort of to ourselves, whatever. And in those instances, sometimes it's been a little bit not ideal, but I'd still much rather pay the $50 to have that venue than at some other random place.
You always seem so sweet, so nice. But there's got to be somebody who like comes and sucks all the air out of the room. Do you have tactics for dealing with them, or are you always just nice, Nick?
No, I definitely. Let me think about it. So how do you mean they suck the air out of the room? Yes, you're onto something here, but I want to know a little more.
Yeah, in my experience, it's like people who just like come like clearly with a very specific agenda. Like I'm treating this as like my sales funnel, and I'm going to pitch all of these people, even though it's not relevant to them. Or someone sometimes like really young and they just like they want a lot of advice, but they just like ask and ask and ask, and it's just like they show up with an empty cup, kind of.
Yeah.
Or someone who's just like wants to talk about politics when not everyone wants to just like talk about politics. Those are kind of the bigger ones.
There is, I'm sure you've seen her online, and all you guys have on Twitter because she's very big. But the woman here in Austin, you know who I'm going to say, Elle, who does the walks on Saturday morning. She used to have a problem that guys would show up and would really see it as a dating thing, and they'd try to chat with all the women. And what I'm going to say is a good way to deal with those people who suck out the energy is to set the expectations in the future or for what folks are going to come to. And so she does a good job of setting up the rules and the boundaries for that by starting off the meetup and the get together, sending the messages in advance, including in like the RSVP, what to expect. And some of that in hers, she's like, this is not an opportunity for you to find dates. This is not a romantic meetup. This is not speed dating. One way that I would do that if that was happening would be that I would say something like, this is not a chance for you to constantly pitch your startup or ask. Think of what you could give. So I would work first of all on setting the expectations for people. And I generally do that on the RSVP page and in my reminder messages. So to the extent that you can like over communicate what is and is not good behavior, then I would do that. And I would probably focus a little more on the good behavior than I would on the bad behavior. And then if someone was truly problematic during an event, which I've hosted so many events, and maybe it's because I filter and I screen a lot of people, but I really don't have this problem as much. But I could imagine that with like the Brian Johnson group or other stuff where there's so many people and it's like sort of an open call that you as hosts may face those challenges. I guess the biggest thing that I can say that's good is to mix up the room by doing these different rounds of icebreakers. And that when you lead your meetup with authority and generous leadership by mixing up the conversations, you really save those bad conversations. Because what often happens is that this doesn't happen with Rae because Ray's smart enough to be like, okay, we're done here. Go talk to somebody else. And yet some of your guests might be too nice to say, hey, I'm done with this conversation. This person is sucking me dry. So you as the host need to be the one who breaks up those conversations and who sort of mixes it up a little bit. And sometimes you can even find like the two bad actors and put them together. Be like, Jeremy and Roger, you guys seem like you would really get along. Will you guys go sit down in the corner in the other room?
I love that. That's so brilliant. Yeah, I feel like if you don't set expectations and if you don't address like bad actors, then other people won't complain or address it. They'll just leave or they will stop coming.
Yeah.
So it's like, it feels like when you're hosting, you just have to be so nice to everyone, but you really have to think about being nice to like the flock, like the bigger group.
Dude, this especially happens when I have VIPs at my event. I am watching the room like a hawk to see who is talking to them. Yes. If they're being sort of monopolized or kind of pitch up, I'm like a hawk just watching at my events. A lot of people say as a host, like, oh, I didn't get to talk to as many people. I'm like, bro, that's not like, your job is not to talk. Like your job is to run the event. And like, you should be watching your group like a hawk.
Yes, I totally agree. Chris, do you want to share your super team code of conduct?
Yeah, sure. We had quite a big community. We sort of have had a lot of events over the years. So we've had a few isolated instances. So it did mean that we had to implement a code of conduct in response to one of these instances. So so basically before every event now, if you want to RSVP, you have to sort of read the code of conduct and agree that you won't do things like, harass people, intimidate people, be racist, homophobic, whatever it is. You have to tick that. And if you come along and then you do something that is against those rules, then we just kick you out of the sort of community, basically. So and River actually allows you to do that. We have the code of conduct sort of feature in there, so it's pretty pretty
I
stuff.
will say,
Dude, I love the idea of being at an event with Chris and Chris seeing that I'm violating the code of conduct, and Chris walks up and he goes, "Yellow card for violating the code of conduct. Final warning for this participant. One more and he's out of here."
yeah,
I think I would quite enjoy that. Yeah,
you would, Chris. That'd be
that's another
brilliant.
whistle as well, right? A whistle.
Yeah, you need a whistle. Yeah, it's like harmonica is like nice guy. Whistle is. Yeah, I feel like though one thing I have against code of conducts is like sometimes no one reads them, or they're just like so long that no one reads them. And like, did anyone ever work like in a corporate office and like one person was clearly violating the dress code, but instead of talking to that person directly as a human, they just send a vague email to everyone, and now everyone's wondering if they've been violating the dress code this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I like a direct approach because it's just clearer. But yeah.
Someone had a funny one to me once. It was like, what if someone smells? And it was very funny. They gave me the perfect thing to say. I've never had this before, but I could imagine in New York or something. It was, I put it as a tweet. I'll have to look for it. But it was like the perfect thing to say if you ever have somebody who smells. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I haven't had that one happen. Although maybe I'm the one guilty of that because I'm kind of like a dirty hipster and I forget to wear deodorant and then I'm like sweating at my dance practice. And
It's so niche.
yeah, could be me. Could be me. Okay, we are at 1:40. I want to ask one or more question and then.
Can I say it real quick? Okay, hold on a second. Do this if someone ever shows up to your party and they smell bad enough that it needs to be addressed. Somebody sent this to me because they were like, okay, do this. You would pull them aside privately and say, "The odor of your body is sometimes too noticeable." And I thought that was like really nice wording, but that phrase takes it from like uncomfortable to whatever. And I wonder whether you could use the same thing if someone's like trying to kind of pitch it. And you could say something like, "Hey, the amount that you're pitching your product is sometimes too noticeable to people.
Yes.
So can you bring that down a little?"
Wow. Brilliant. Okay. I think that's the bit we unlocked. Okay. I have two questions for you before we open to the wider community. You've traveled a lot and you've lived in multiple places. What are your observations across cities and cultures around like gathering in community? Basically, are like some places better at it than others?
I spent the most time in New York City and here in Austin. So I can say that things in New York start later. They're generally like 7 to 9 p.m. or like 8 to 10 p.m. Here in Austin tends to be like 5 to 7 p.m. or 6 to 8 p.m. Here in Austin, there's more run clubs and morning meetups and things like that. I find that living as a citizen in New York City, you can basically be a bump on a log and fill up your social calendar with tons of events. Here in Austin, you have to be more intentional. You have to create your type of communities. And so for anyone who doesn't live in a major city like New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, to be around the type of people that you want, you have to be more intentional and host your own events.
I've noticed living in a few different cities that some cities are easier to kind of break in and move up, so to speak. I find San Francisco to be incredibly merit-based in a way where it's like if you start showing up to things and you contribute to things, like good things will happen to you and you'll kind of like get more access or get invited to more things. New York's pretty much like that, but I found Miami to not be like that. Like it felt like no matter how much you contributed or showed up, it was just already what it was and nothing was going to change. So I just find that interesting. And and as I've traveled, I found Mexico City to be incredibly warm and everyone just starts dancing in the street instantly, whereas other places takes a lot more warming up to get to people. So I think it's interesting. Some cities do community a lot better. And then I think
they talk about the Seattle freeze, for example. Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah. And I find Austin and warm city climates to be very good for community and events because they can house more outdoor spaces, whereas New York and Boston, it's freezing all year long and you just struggle to get people together. So it's interesting the dynamics there. I wanted to ask you what's next for you because your book's out. So
on my website, I'll put in here PP host. On this page, I list all of the folks who've read my book and then hosted an event using my formula. And this page brings me great joy. And when I launched my book, I set a goal to get to 500 verified hosts. Verified means I've talked to them, they followed the formula, they did name tags, round of icebreakers, they took a selfie. And I'm almost to 500. I think I'm at like 485. Yeah, 47 now. And so I'm getting close to my goal. And that's been my number one metric that I've been focusing on. Not book reviews, book sales, but who will actually host an event using this formula that can apply to so many different things in life. So right now I'm still focused on that. I'm building a little team to help me with I've been playing with short form video and long form video and socials, and I have so much fun. And I think I'm very lucky that I get to wake up every day and work on new things that sort of capture my attention. And I think I'll keep doing that for a long time.
Love it. Okay, let's open up for questions for Nick or comments. I can also randomly call on you. How about Ezra? Do you have anything?
No. This is great tips, though. Great tips so far, Nick. I just got your book on Audible, so I'm looking forward to going through that as well.
Oh, nice. Nice. Thanks. I recorded the Audible, so I hope it's good.
Cool. Even better.
That's a lot of work. Most people outsource that. That's great.
It really is a lot of work. You want to know something funny? They told me, they're like, oh, like, would you like to have lunch? Like, what would you like? And I was like, lunch? Like, we're recording for 2 hours, or 3 hours. Like, why do I need lunch? Like, I can eat at home. I have a diet. Like, no. Like, what do you want for lunch? I was like, seriously, guys, I have like a weird diet. I don't need. They're like, no, seriously, what do you want? And sure enough, after 2 hours, we had to stop the recording because my stomach was grumbling. And what I will say is that when you are recording an audiobook, you are fucking laser tuned in to every word and pronunciation, and you are at 110% of presence. And literally, after 2 hours, I was so hungry, I was starving, I was wiped, after only 2 hours, it took us three full days of recording. It really is a hard process. You are every word, moment, spacing. It's like 3 hours of pure performance. It's wild.
Yeah, exhausting. Who else has something? Nick has something. Or is he leaving?
All right, fellow Nick, congrats on your success of the recent Tokyo trip. That was incredible to follow. I'm sure a lot of people on my Zoom today feel the same way.
Thanks.
You get this question a lot. Last 36 hours or whatever. What was your top learning from that? And like, how are you going to carry that forward in some way, that format, or are you thinking differently about your work and your social media and stuff like that? What do you think?
Yes, I learned a lot from it. And I'll tell you one thing that I learned. So I went to a wedding this past weekend. It was a 3-day wedding. It was very long. And it was great. It was an amazing wedding, by the way. But on like the last night of the last event, I was getting a little bit bored, and I was hanging out with a friend, and there was a thing of coffee beans at the bar. Because, sometimes you do the beans to smell, to kind of clear your palate. And one thing I said for my blind date was like, live a good story and like do things for the plot and like try to make it fun and do an adventure. I wish, like in hindsight, that I would have gone around this wedding with some of these coffee beans and walked up to random people and been like, hey, this is a magic bean. I need you to hold this for an hour. I'll be back and I'm going to find you, but please don't lose this. It's very, very important, because that's just stupid and it's just ridiculous. And it would have helped me to meet more people at this wedding and talk to people and just do something really stupid and ridiculous. The reality is that I was tired. It felt uncomfortable. I didn't do it. Okay. The same thing with my blind date. There were moments when it was blowing up and things were overwhelming that I was just going to back out of it before it happened. I was like, this is just too straight. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to call it off. I'm going to call it off. But I did do it. And those moments for me, when you kind of push through, frankly, I even feel that way sometimes about events that I'm attending. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to this. I'm tired. I've had a long day or something like that. And then I always go to the event. I have 1 or 2 good conversations. I'm like, dang it. I'm so freaking glad I went to that. That was awesome. This has happened many times over the years where I've said, I don't want to go to this. I don't want to do this. And then I do it. And I'm so happy that I went. So leaning into more of those situations will be something that I sort of take away from this.
I'm in the same boat. Like, what is it? Occam's razor, or there's like an Naval Ravikant, how to get rich without
how to get rich without being lucky or something. Anyway, one of the things he says is like optimize for serendipity. If your choices is like stay home and watch Netflix or go to this random meetup that you're like pretty sure you're not going to meet anything, it's like, well, definitely nothing good is going to happen from staying home and watching Netflix. So
Yes.
just optimizing for serendipity. And I love creating memories for people. One of my kind of pet peeves is like sometimes my family just wants to sit around and watch a sports game on TV. And I'm just like, it all just bleeds together. Like there's no marking of time. So trying to like create, and like that, this magic coffee bean would have been like, remember that weird guy at that wedding?
Yes.
Yeah. It creates a lot of magic. Someone else had a question. Their hand was up and then I kind of lost track of it. Sorry.
Sunit.
This is slightly off topic. Got any advice for us single guys as a result of the Tokyo blind date? That maybe cross-pollinate a bit with your 2-hour cocktail book.
Yes. Lots of advice. Okay. So as a 5'11" single guy, and I say 5'11" because many women have their dating height filter set at 6 foot. I find that I am at sort of like a disadvantage on the online dating apps. So I don't use the online dating apps. And I think for most men, you're at a severe disadvantage. So I just erase all of those dating apps or use them for funnel to invite and start to host events. And so what I would say is re-strategizing what your dating sort of pipeline is, that instead of trying to set up dates, you should just be trying to host events and invite people to those events. At the event could be a chance for you to get to know somebody, see if you want to go out on a date, maybe. Don't think about that like an event, like a date, but more like a chance to kind of get to know them and they get to see you in a leadership role in a position. If that sounds like too much and it's too intimidating, then I would look for a buddy or sort of a co-host, 1 or 2 other guys who you could say, hey guys, let's host a happy hour. We're all single and we're dating, or maybe not all of us are, but like we want to see people. We're each going to be responsible to bring 6 people. And by the way, note the phrase to bring 6 people, not to invite 6 people, because each needs to bring 6 people. Then amongst you 3, there should be 21 people where you can host a happy hour and you can run some of these activities where everybody gets to meet each other. And then maybe out of that you would think of like online dating sort of. But I think that's the best advice I have.
Even though I've been married for 16 years, I think I can give some dating tips. So one is, my husband's 5'10", and I think he's perfectly tall. First of all, learn how to dance, social dancing like salsa, bachata. I met my husband swing dancing, Lindy Hop. There's always a shortage of men. You don't have to get that good. But I just find like men who dance, they just tend to meet a lot more women. It's like speed dating in the lesson you rotate through. Even if your local like community dance center seems kind of lame, that's even better. Like practice on all the like old ladies that you're not trying to date and get better, and then go out social dancing and crush it. Whenever I travel, the first thing I do is I go out social dancing because that's how I meet like locals who tell me where to go, and then they invite me somewhere, and then it's just like the trip is so much better. And then hosting, I actually think hosting is incredibly sexy. Like a lot of men don't bother doing it. I don't know why they don't, but it's just like bringing people together is a great form of like leadership and masculinity. And so I think that's a great way. I notice the women who do come to all-in events, because I run the all-in meetups community, are often pulling me aside and they're like, I'm here to find a husband. And I'm like, you get it, girl.
Wait, somebody said that? I love that.
20 women have said that to me, not someone. And I'm just like, get it, girl. Like, this is a great place to position yourself because it's way too many men. There's more men than women at these events all the time. And a lot of the women that are coming are there specifically looking, you missed your chance. And then my last dating tip is let people know that what you're interested in, that you're interested in being set up, because people will think of you and they'll be like, oh, my friend so-and-so is like, but a lot of people don't want to assume, because it's like, that feels very rude to just be like, hey, I noticed you need a girlfriend. If you just put it out there, someone might set you up. I'm a great wing woman. I've put 3 couples together so far.
No, wait, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Who else? Anybody else have dating advice? I'd love to hear from folks if anybody else has stuff.
I'm a married man myself, but I will say that doing something physical is always good in my book. Go for a hike, stay away from the bar, go for a walk, be outside. Like, you can strike up conversation a bit more naturally if you're kind of huffing and puffing a little bit.
I love that.
And the other thing I would just say for Sunit or for some other people, most of the time I find when people are asking for dating advice, they're talking about the top of the funnel, which is like, hey, how do I even meet the people? How do I even like do that? I found from living 13 years in New York, the difference between asking somebody, hey, I host these little meetups for like really interesting random people that I meet in town. The mix of, can I invite you to this cool event versus do you want to go on a date with me? I've never had anybody say no to, hey, can I invite you to this event? Because everybody wants to be invited to a party or a meetup to meet somebody interesting, whether they'll come or not, right? It's not, do you want to come? It's, hey, can I invite you to this? What's your email? I'll send you the info the next time I have one. I found that as a much easier way to create a first sort of connection where I could get to know the person better.
Love it. Nicole says she likes coffees and walks for her first date. Yes, my friend invites folks to happy hours all the time. Yep. Yeah. I like putting people together too to do a physical activity like a cold plunge, getting people to try something new. That's kind of fun. Been doing some cold plunges up north in the Maine waters here. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of just dancing. I'm like, everybody should learn how to dance. It's like speed dating. It's great.
I'm smiling because this is like pure like married person advice. Like, I am not a dancer. I hear this advice, learn how to dance. It's like, learn how to speak Spanish, you know? It's like, okay, I guess I'm just not coordinated, but I guess maybe I should do this. I should lean into the sort of uncomfortability of what you're saying, and I should try it. But I hear that advice usually, and I'm like, learn how to dance, learn how to speak French. Wait, easier said than done.
Women at all-in event meetups, the odds are the same for a man who just like has decent breath and shows up to learn how to dance. Like, the odds are just like shooting fish in a barrel. So
yes,
you can say you don't like it, but it's like the odds are great.
Oh, one last pro tip that I'm thinking about, because I saw Brian Johnson made a video about this, but is about his mouthwash that he uses. And there's other people, Matt Mullenweg has a mouthwash that he likes. And I used to be adamant for all my tour guides that we would pay for breath mints, for gum, for anything. Because when you're in close proximity, there is nothing that is more of a turnoff than bad breath. And I'm now like, oh my God, I may be dropping the ball on that. And so I bought the mouthwash that he has. I'm now tuning up. I don't think I have bad breath, but I'd rather have nice breath than neutral breath.
That's right. And brush your tongue.
Yes. Tongue scraper. I forget what the brand of the mouthwash is. It's in one of his videos, but Matt Mullenweg has one that is a mix of these two things. It's a mouthwash that comes in a bottle with two bottles, and it mixes like sodium bicarbonate and zinc, and it's supposed to give you longer lasting stuff. I'll try to find a link.
And eating healthy helps.
Yeah.
Not
Look at this. People thought they were just coming for community, but no, they're getting mouthwash tips.
Nick, you're the best. I love your vibes on the internet and in real life, and I just really appreciate all the good work you put out into the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Great to meet everybody. Thank you, guys.
Okay, take care, everybody. See you next time.
Bye, y'all.